Just ahead on the News Center tonight, the city begins exploring a policy on AIDS.
And the state begins preparing for higher speeds.
Tom, there's a chance we could make up our monthly rainfall deficit in about 24 hours.
Betsy, the Hawks and the Pacers in a one-point game tonight and a near no-hitter in the Cubs game.
And welcome back.
Thank you.
Stay with us. News Center 13 tonight is next.
You look. The game Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's.
Okay, my McDLT for your Baltic Avenue. And your Coca-Cola.
And you can win big.
Marvin. Guns! Marvin guns!
Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's with over $40 million in food, prizes, and cash. You can win $1 million, collect the right game pieces, or win instantly. Hard luck. Boardwalk. Do not pass go. Go directly to McDonald's. We got the juice. Lemon light bites. What a sensation. With 10% juice. Lemon light taste. It's a standing ovation. We got the juice. Diet juice.
So what do you think? I don't know. I'm telling you, Frank, you gotta let me order your supply, this new command. Yeah, okay, so why is this stuff so great? Well, you got your grasses, right? Mm-hmm. You got your broadleaf weeds? Well, put this stuff down when you plant your soybeans, and it controls them both. It gets foxtail. Yeah. And velvet leaf. Yeah. Hey, that's great, because I swear, I hate velvet leaf. Okay, shall I put you down for an order of command?
WTHR, Channel 13, Indianapolis. Tonight, live from the heart of Indiana, Tom Cochran, Betsy Ross, Bob Gregory's exclusive AccuWeather, and Don Hines Sports Final. This is News Center 13 tonight.
Good evening, Indiana. It is a first for Indianapolis. Tonight, city officials are exploring a policy that would define the rights of AIDS patients.
The City-County Council wants to know how city government should deal with reported cases of AIDS. The council is considering a task force that would set up a written policy dealing with AIDS. Task force is Council Minority Leader Roselle Boyd's idea. He told our Linda Ellsworth it is time Indianapolis has a written policy that deals with the fatal disease.
I want to make sure that before those first cases are reported and certain people go into panic, that we will have had an opportunity to very soberly consider what the policy atmosphere should be for handling those cases of AIDS. And I think if we do it this way, rather than waiting until those cases are reported, we're going to be able to handle it much more expeditiously.
The proposal must go to a council committee for debate and suggestions, but Boyd says it is a start to deal with the reality of AIDS. He says he wants a policy that will cut down on discrimination that many AIDS patients like Ryan White are up against. In a related note tonight, the president of the American Medical Association is calling for a new morality to combat the spread of AIDS. The physician is also concerned about the traditional doctor-patient relationship, where confidentiality hinders a doctor's ability to protect partners of those with AIDS. Dr. John Corey says the threat of legal action keeps a doctor from disclosing the risk of AIDS in an individual, even when the doctor's silence may result in the patient's partner being infected. The head of the AMA says there may need to be a new definition of confidentiality. Betsy?
An Indiana State Police sergeant was shot and killed tonight as he led a team of officers into a rural Posey County home. A gunman was holed up in the house threatening suicide when police entered. 45-year-old John Hatfull, a 14-year veteran, was killed when the gunman opened fire on the officers. Earlier in the incident, Hatfull was struck by shotgun pellets but was not injured. He continued to lead that operation. The gunman, 47-year-old Dennis Brinker, killed himself with a shotgun blast to his chest. A baby boy was born tonight to a Speedway woman critically burned earlier today in a natural gas explosion in her home. 24-year-old Sherry Akers was trying to light a gas appliance when her house exploded. Neighbors say they heard 3 blasts before Akers managed to run from her home in flames. She was burned over more than 90% of her body. She was 8.5 months pregnant, so doctors tonight decided to deliver her baby. She remains in critical condition.
Federal authorities and Southside Indianapolis Chemical Plant will soon begin a joint project to monitor groundwater and soil contamination. An agreement between Riley Tar and Chemical and the EPA creates a study of well water near the plant. The EPA says previous studies have found various chemicals in water and soil samples. The seriousness of the potential threat was documented in the 1983 probe team documentary, The Deadly Legacy. That same year, Riley was proposed for inclusion on the EPA's national priorities list for hazardous waste sites. The EPA is accepting public comment on the matter through the 1st of next month. Well, work is underway tonight, changing speed limit signs to read 65 miles per hour. The changeover will cost about $60,000. 3/4 of Indiana's interstate system will move up to 65 if the legislature passes it and it is signed by the governor, both of which seem certain. Only interstates in rural areas with under 50,000 population are eligible. Interstates near Indianapolis and other major Indiana cities will remain at 55. One portion of I-69 between Anderson and Muncie will remain 55. The rest of the stretch moves up to 65.
And that higher speed limit will likely raise the price that we pay for automobile insurance. That's the lead item in Bruce Kopp's Business Digest tonight.
Insurance companies expect that a rise in the speed limit will mean a rise in auto accidents. One group says nationwide premiums might go up by as much as 20%. The Indiana Insurance Institute says Hoosier rates will remain among the lowest in the country, and it may be some time before we see a boost in rates.
We won't see the full effect of this for at least a year in rates, and actually it'll be closer to 2 years before we really know what the effect has been in rates.
The food store wars are eating away at one chain of Indiana supermarkets. Preston Safeway is closing 6 of its stores. The chain's Carmel store has recently closed. 3 Indianapolis stores and locations in Kokomo and Shelbyville are expected to shut down this week. At its 4-day bargaining convention in Chicago, the United Auto Workers Union says it will seek labor contracts which limit an automaker's ability to buy component parts instead of making them. The major automakers have been cutting costs by buying parts instead of making them in-house. The move has cost thousands of UAW jobs. On Wall Street, the stock market closed sharply lower today in heavy trading. The Dow was down nearly 52 points in the 4th biggest decline on record. Bruce Kopp, business labor specialist, News Center 13 tonight.
Lawyers for Marybeth Whitehead say she will resume visiting her baby later this week at a secret time and place. The New Jersey Supreme Court ruled Friday the surrogate mother should be allowed visitation rights pending her appeal. A lower court awarded custody of baby M to the child's natural father, William Stern. Our Pulse poll question is asking Hoosiers, once a surrogate mother signs a contract, should she be held to that contract? Callers to our non-scientific poll say the agreement should be binding by a margin of 74% to 26%. We thank you for your participation in our exclusive Pulse poll.
Firefighters are on the scene of a cargo jet crash north of Kansas City, Missouri. Early reports from the scene indicate the Boeing 707 had 3 or 4 crewmen on board. The crash is in a field near Kansas City International Airport. No other details are available. Serious and businesslike. That is how the United States describes talks between Secretary of State George Shultz and his Soviet counterpart. Shultz and Foreign Minister Shevardnadze met 3 times today, including a late-night unscheduled meeting on arms control. Shultz pressed the Soviets on embassy spying and on human rights violations. Between the meetings, the Secretary of State marked the beginning of Passover with about 40 prominent refuseniks, Soviet Jews who had been denied permission to emigrate. Secretary Shultz told those at the embassy to never give up. Amy Carter was in court in Massachusetts, facing charges following a protest against Central Intelligence Agency recruiting on campus. She is among 3 defendants on trial, including Abby Hoffman. A court hearing will resume Wednesday on a request by John Hinckley, the man who shot President Reagan once out of the hospital for Easter leave. Testimony reveals Hinckley wrote a letter to multiple killer Theodore Bundy, and he asked for Charles Manson's address. And Gary Hart is off and running. The former senator from Colorado is officially declaring his candidacy for the 1988 Democratic presidential nomination. Gary Hart says that in recent years, America has let personal greed replace a sense of social justice and the national good.
Up next from the News Center, it may take some time to determine liability in a fatal accident during Saturday night's storm.
And the General Assembly gets a turn to honor the national champions.
With news for Bloomington, Connersville, and all of Central Indiana, this is News Center 13 tonight.
when the moment is one of a kind, share the memory with the Osco Take Two option. With any roll process, get a second set of prints for 8 cents each from Osco.
Give a little nibble, give a little nibble.
Wendy's asks, before you eat your next hamburger, any hamburger, taste the meat.
Give a little nibble.
Is it dry and chewy, or hot and juicy? Is it bland, or is it tasty?
Give a little nibble.
No other hamburger has Wendy's hot and juicy taste. The more you nibble others, the more you'll love Wendy's.
Did you know the last time you starved yourself to lose fat, you might have lost muscle? Why? You didn't eat enough protein. Protein helps you keep the muscle while you lose fat. And that's what's special about Kellogg's Special K. It has the highest level of dietary protein of any cereal. So the under 200-calorie Special K breakfast may help you get the fat off and keep the muscle on. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.
Indianapolis officials are closer tonight to figuring out why a huge ash tree toppled over, killing 31-year-old Andre Dunford. The young man died in what authorities are calling a bizarre accident Saturday night. They say Dunford was driving in the 3100 block of East 38th when the 1,000-pound tree slammed into his car. Officials say they can't tell if anyone is liable, but they have turned up a few things.
One, we don't believe it's on our property yet, and we've called for this survey to make sure that it wasn't. Two, that we're not, the tree was rotted at the base, and with the 50-mile-an-hour winds coming through, and that's probably what, that is what causes the fall down.
Officials say Dunford didn't have a chance. The tree toppled into the driver's side of his car. Tom?
Tomorrow afternoon, a conference committee will begin the task of putting together the final version of education reform in the state. The group of 2 legislators from both houses will try to reach a compromise that will satisfy lawmakers and Governor Orr. The issue of extra school days is central to Governor Orr's A-plus education reform package, and he has promised a special session if the final version of the bill is unsatisfactory to him. Well, it was a rousing reception at the State House today for Coach Bob Knight and 3 of the NCAA championship team members. Sea of red in both chambers of the legislature showed the spirit is still high from the New Orleans win. Knight, Gerald Thomas, Todd Meyer, and Steve Alford spoke to a standing room-only crowd following the passage of a resolution honoring the IU team.
And I don't think in the 16 years that I've been in Bloomington, that a group of kids has ever gone further, worked harder, or did a better job of showing people across the country what the Hoosier work ethic is all about than these kids did this year.
Coach Knight told the Indiana General Assembly his team is made up of students first and basketball players second.
Well, Tom, another Hoosier had a special day today, even though he wasn't around to see the results of his good deeds. You might remember a few weeks ago when David Letterman sent the Indiana School for the Deaf about 9,000 NBC T-shirts, sweatshirts, and jackets. Well, they have been boxed up, and students at the school have been bugging the staff for the items ever since they got there. And today, the youngsters finally got their gifts. The rest of the merchandise that's left over will go to several other Indiana schools and hospitals. And by the way, Letterman also wrote the school a $70,000 check. Will go for a good cause.
And that's no joke.
No.
The weather is. Coming next to the News Center tonight, Bob Gregory has the latest on the April showers and severe weather in his accurate forecast.
And in sports, Don Hine has highlights of a near no-hitter between the Cubs and the Phils.
With news for Noblesville, Columbus, and all of Central Indiana, this is News Center 13 tonight.
Introducing the UPS Next Day Air Pack. It's made of 100-micron waterproof, tear-proof polyolefin, just like our competition. It has a hot melt adhesive flap with peel-off release, just like our competition. The only difference is most of our competition charges twice as much. Either they're paying way too much for their envelopes, or you're paying way too much for their service. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
Commuter traffic is real slow.
Cattle Company has a happy ending for everyone who's had one of those days. Announcing Alaskan snow crab legs. Tender and succulent, alongside a juicy top sirloin steak. Complete with a fresh salad and a steamy baked potato. And at Cattle Company, it's all for just $7.95. But not for long.
Your rubberneckers are still slowing the...
So make tonight's dinner the best part of a hard day.
Live, wherever news to you is happening. SkyPath Satellite reports exclusively on News Center 13. Tomorrow's news now.
Anybody here who can show me some appliances and TVs and stereos?
Anybody here?
Anybody here?
Anybody here? We got a fish.
Ever get the feeling that some appliance stores are out for blood? Your blood?
Help! Sharks!
Help is right around the corner. H.H. Gregg. Quality, name-brand appliances and electronics at the lowest possible prices. And we've offered shark-free shopping for a long time.
Thank you.
Roses thrive on rain, sunshine, and plenty of care from you. Hi, I'm Jerry Baker. Want roses like these? Plant nursery-grown K-Grow premium rose bushes from Kmart. Then add Super K-Grow systemic rose and flower care to control insects and promote growth. Everything's on sale. How will your rose garden grow? With these products, very, very well.
Super K-Grow, only at Kmart, America's favorite store.
Bob Gregory's AccuWeather carries the seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society.
Well, I guess this is weather to be expected around here.
Well, we said it would be this way, and this is it. Whether you like it or not, keep the top up in the car tonight, though. It's going to be a little soggy going home. Those in the southwestern part of the state already know this is really our second band of showers now moving through the state, and we can expect some heavy downpours overnight and then again tomorrow. We may make up that 1-inch deficit as far as rainfall is concerned because the agricultural information indicates maybe as much as an inch or more in some spots. First, let's take a look at the statistics now. We're matching our high so far for the day. Officially, it is overcast 57 degrees at the airport. Here in the Weather Center downtown, I'm just a needle under 60 degrees. Humidity at 64. Our winds now out of the east at 14 miles an hour. The pressure's at 2990, and it is falling. As I mentioned, our high for the day, 57. We're tying that now at morning low at 44. Now, let's take a look at our Weather Service radar beginning about 9:30 this evening, and here you can see the line just getting into the Terre Haute area over in Danville, Illinois. All of this is streaming toward the northeast at about 25 to 30 miles an hour. Now, the green areas that you can pick out represent what we classify as heavier thunderstorms. As much as a half to 1 inch of rain can fall in that area, whereas this lighter shading in here represents rainfall amounts which could go up to a half inch or so in an hour's period of time. This is our live radar now, and you can see the leading edge at the Crawfordsville area and down through the Greencastle and down toward Bloomington and Bedford, coming northeastward at about 25 miles an hour. So you can see in the path that indeed you are going to get wet as the evening goes along. If this isn't enough, take a look at the composite now of the national radars throughout the country. And this, of course, the red and yellow, indicates very intense thunderstorms. Cloud tops, especially down in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi now, over 40,000 feet. There are no longer any severe thunderstorm or tornado watches in effect at the present time, but during the course of the afternoon we had as many as 4 out at one time. This is a look at the cloud pattern all the way from the Gulf states on up to and through Canada. The jet stream now, this low is really just cut off from the main stream of circulation. Thus, it will move very, very slowly, and that will enable us in some spots to get some rather heavy amounts of rainfall as the system streams toward the northeast. There were some funnels at a place called Green Forest in Arkansas. A mobile home park was damaged, and there were several injuries reported. Other tornadoes down in Louisiana, better than 2 inches of rain in parts of Louisiana and in the Memphis area. If this isn't enough on that side, how about Nantucket today? 35 degrees of temperature, 46 mile an hour winds. Records up at Sault Ste. Marie and Marquette, Michigan today. Here's what the map shows tomorrow now. Still a rain shield for us. And then by Wednesday, finally, it will start to move out, and some of Friday and Saturday is out in this general area. So temperatures tomorrow in the 60s, but wet. Here's my forecast. Showers and some thunderstorms with maybe some locally heavy downpours. 51 our morning low. Windy, some showery rains. Again, a couple of thunderstorms tomorrow. We'll have a southeast wind from 18 to 30 miles an hour. A couple of showers for us tomorrow night, and maybe a thunderstorm on Wednesday. But then Thursday, the break comes in, and by Good Friday, temperatures, of course, well above normal with lots and lots of sunshine. So look out for the thunder showers overnight tonight. Tomorrow morning, a shower around 53 degrees at 8 o'clock. And I said, what? It's that time of year around here.
Yep.
Of course, around here you can say that year-round.
And the top is up, and I found out the top has a leak or two as well.
Uh-oh. Speaking of tops, this is the first time we've seen you without your hat on in a couple of days.
The kid has been in Phoenix. It's nice and warm. Probably a great race. I'll show you a little bit more of that tonight. But probably the most interesting thing that I saw there was a sports guy by the name of Rock Rote. He was Rock was the highlight of my trip, and we'll tell you about that tonight.
Easy to entertain you.
That's right.
With the sports right after this. Stay with us.
Long John Silver's is the perfect place to learn the value of $1. Right, boys?
This is so much.
What is this?
The seafood platter.
And these?
Fish, shrimp, clams.
Excellent. And the seafood platter's price?
$3.99?
Right. And that is?
Value.
Can we eat now?
Long John Silver.
May we eat now?
Caterers,
No matter what you're looking for,
chair rentals,
there's one place you know you'll find it.
home improvements.
Ameritech Pages Plus, the original Indiana Bell Yellow Pages. It's the same book that was always there when your parents needed it.
Hello, Bill's Barbershop.
Mellow out, Dad.
And we're still there for you.
Hello, Bill's Unisex Hair Salon.
Chill out, Dad.
Ameritech Pages Plus. Next to the phone, there's nothing better.
Born great, born green, born growing. What a truth, you can really get going at Excellent Barn, that great green growing group. Group dynamics from Merchants National Companies, great banks, great teamwork, putting a little boing in your banking. You can really get going at Excellent Barn, that great green growing group. Barn.
For years, soybean weed control has meant juggling grass herbicides with broadleaf herbicides to find just the right mix. And lately, a flurry of new products has made the choices even more complicated. Now there's a single pre-emergence product that controls both grasses and broadleaves. Introducing Turbo from Mobay. Everything you need in one jug. It's the simple solution you've been waiting for.
A couple of baseball greats are in the hospital tonight. Los Angeles Dodger first base coach Manny Mota was hospitalized, complaining of chest pains. He is in stable condition. And ex-Yankee slugger Mickey Mantle is in fair condition in a Texas hospital after he also complained of chest pains. Doctors don't think he suffered a heart attack, but they're going to keep him a few days just to check him out. Mickey Mantle, by the way, is 55. Well, from baseball to football now.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth, guys. Everything seems to happen all the time in this day of sport. Nothing really has its day anymore. Here we are, finally over here. How about that? Still a couple of weeks short of the NFL draft, and Oklahoma's Brian Bosworth makes the headlines because he won't be in it. Most think he'll ask to participate in that supplemental version. Alabama's Cornelius Bennett probably won't be in the draft either if the information offered by the Colts today proved factual. They've offered him $4 million for 5 years, including $1.5 million signing bonus. Bennett is interested again. Backup offensive lineman Roger Karen has been dealt by the Colts to Buffalo for a mystery draft. And the Packers' James Lofton goes to the Raiders for a third-round selection. Now, the Pacers could have improved their playoff position tonight, but here's Darrell Burnett.
The Pacers took control of this game in the latter stages of the first half. Kyle Macy's long pass to Chuck Person produced a layup, and the Pacers led 49-43 at the half. The Pacers had their chance in the third quarter. John Long's jumper and 2 Vern Fleming free throws opened up a 9-point lead. Then Dominic Wilkins took over in the fourth quarter.
I was feeling good. The shots was there. We were getting out in the break, and they were calling my number, and my shot was falling.
The Hawks took the lead and won the game when Randy Whitman dished off to Antoine Carr, who hit this fall-away. The Hawks led 101-98.
He made a tough shot. He made a turnaround jumper fading away. He made it.
The Pacers had one last chance to tie, but Chuck Person hurried this three-point attempt, and it was off the mark. John Long's three-pointer at the buzzer came far too late. The Hawks escaped 102-101. Darrell Burnett, News Center 13 Sports.
Now the Chicago Bulls led the Pacers by a half game now. As of tonight, courtesy Michael Jordan's 57th time this season that he scored 50 or more in a game, and they moved their record for the year to 500. Paul Pressey pulled Milwaukee close, getting inside for 2 of his 18, and Jack Sikma knocked down an 18-footer, but it's the Bulls 114-107. Now, the Pacers, if they would have won, could have gone past Washington, which lost to Philadelphia 113-105. Well, the Reds still have had their early season bubble burst just once, and Pete Rose was not the man who did it with his Fleers, or was that double bubble? Dave Parker started it in the first with a shot up the alley and right that scored Tracy Jones, and it's 1-0. Now, Jones had a good night himself with 3 knocks. Eric Davis got the game winner in the 5th after Dave Concepcion had singled. The cleanup hitter had 3 hits. Atlanta's only offense was Ken Griffey, who leads the league at .563. He was 3 of 3. Reds now 6-1, 7-2 the final. Gullickson wins. Cubs' Jamie Moyer came within 3 outs of a no-hitter against Philly. He had a career-high 10 strikeouts. Andre Dawson's solo was the game-winning run, but Moyer lost his bid for immortality in the last of the 9th when first man up Juan Samuel singled, and Moyer huffed and puffed, but the Cubs won 5-2. Charlie Hudson, subbing for the ill Tommy John, notched 10 Cleveland K's on his belt and won easily 11-3. Willie Randolph's 5 RBIs gave him all it needed. That was a bases-clearing double right there. Now, the moon was full in Baltimore tonight, and no one was more aware of that than Orioles left fielder Ken Gerhardt. He didn't even put a glove on this Milwaukee hit. The Brewers won their 7th without loss, 6-3.
Bobby Rahal told me after yesterday's Phoenix 200 that the race was as much fun for the drivers as it was for the fans. There were only 3 short yellows, no injuries, at a record speed from a guy who came from last to first, Roberto Guerrero. The man who finished 3rd, Ari Leyendijk, was involved in a lot of close racing. He said he was handling very well.
I was coming off the corner quicker, but I couldn't get by on the straightaway because I didn't have the power. We had a problem with the boost, so that was my problem.
A problem only in quotes because he bested the likes of the Andrettis and all the rest, so that should give his crew a nice boost for Indianapolis.
Dale Earnhardt has a 127-point bulge in the NASCAR standings after a win yesterday at Bristol, and our congratulations to Anderson College, number 9 in the nation this week in the NAI baseball rankings. Ball State signed Carmel basketball ace Mike Ginta for next year.
Good. He'll look good in cardinal and white.
We'll have to see.
We'll have a final word right after this.
It could be a bad color for him.
Look, it's not your fault. Most any food or drink can cause bad breath, even a cheeseburger. You need Clorettes. Only Clorettes has Actisol with chlorophyll to clean up bad breath fast. Clorettes, because you have bad breath more often than you think.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tux medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact. For hemorrhoid flare-up, get Tux from Park Davis.
Nice going, Mustang. Have one on me.
Roger, Den Mother.
Great. Trouble with your refreshment system?
Negative.
The choice of a new generation.
This Diet Pepsi commercial was inspired by the hit movie Top Gun, now available on video cassette.
I don't really work here. In fact, I've been at GTE for 10 years. I'm a GTE account manager.
But he's here a lot, making sure our GTE phone system meets our needs.
I'm the only one they ever have to call, but I can call on hundreds of specialists.
When we expanded, he helped us get into the Market Quote Network. And even use our phones to open new accounts.
This business depends on telecommunications. That's my job.
99.5 WCPL. Continuous hit rock. Now with CPL's Hit Rock Double Shot.
When you hear 2 in a row by the same artist, call ZPL to win $1,000.
CPL's Hit Rock Double Shots. 2 in a row by the same artist. Win $1,000. Continuous Hit Rock and CPL's $1,000 double shot.
Continuous Hit Rock, CPL.
What happens when you turn 18 and the government is no longer willing to pay for foster care? Tomorrow on News Center 13's Live at 5, our Spotlight segment features those with no place to go, a dilemma facing more than 1,300 young people in Indiana. That is tomorrow, Live at 5.
And that will do it for News Center 13 tonight. Thank you for being with us. I'm Betsy Ross.
And I'm Tom Cochran. For all of us at the News Center, have a pleasant evening. We'll be watching for you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Well, you look. The game Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's.
Okay, my McDLT for your Baltic Avenue. And your Coca-Cola.
And you can win big.
Marvin.
Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's with over $40 million in food, prizes, and cash. You could win $1 million. Collect the right game pieces or win instantly. Do not pass go. Go directly to McDonald's.
Today's high-compression engines not only rev high, they can run hotter than regular small car engines. Their searing heat can begin to break down an oil immediately. That's why there's Castrol, the only leading motor oil that in every grade provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol before your engine does something to get you heated up. Castrol, engineered for today's smaller cars.
Castrol GTX is on sale at your neighborhood Guarantee Auto Store for 89 cents.
Did you know the last time you starved yourself to lose fat, you might have lost muscle? Why? You didn't eat enough protein. Protein helps you keep the muscle while you lose fat. And that's what's special about Kellogg's Special K. It has the highest level of dietary protein of any cereal. So the under 200-calorie Special K breakfast may help you get the fat off and keep the muscle on. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.